Good morning and welcome to the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor. Madam Secretary, please take the roll.
Senator Daley. Here. Senator Ellison. Present. Senator Flores.
Present.
Senator Lang. Senator Rogish. Here. Senator Scheibel. Here. Senator Steinbeck. Here. Chair Pizzina.
Present, and please mark Senator Lang present when she arrives. All right, we do have a quorum, and we would love to welcome our members here in Carson City. And if anyone joins us in Las Vegas, they're also welcome, and those following our meeting online. Before we begin, I'd like to make a few housekeeping announcements. First, I'd like to remind everyone to please silence all of your electronic devices while in the committee room. Members of the public may provide testimony in various ways, all of which are listed on the agenda. You may also submit public comment in writing, either in addition to testifying or in place of testifying. If you wish to testify in person, please sign in at the table by the door and leave a business card with our committee secretary. When testifying in person, please turn the microphones on to speak and off to listen. As we have others listening and viewing the meeting online and potentially in Vegas, please also state and spell your name for the record. And anyone who'd like to receive electronic notifications of scheduled bills and access to the committee's meeting materials may do so by signing up on Nellis on the legislative website. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other exhibits. Please don't view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. And with that, we are going to move to our very first agenda item, which is the hearing on Senate Bill 166. And we'd love to welcome Senator Scheibel to present.
Good morning, Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor. Thank you so much for having me here to present SB 166 this morning. My name is Melanie Scheibel. I'm the Senator for District 9 in Southwest Las Vegas, and Senate Bill 166 is a collaboration with a number of stakeholders and advocates, including the ASPCA and my friend Susan Riggs, who is here to help me present the bill. SB 166 broadly removes barriers to public housing and supportive housing for people who have pets as members of their families to ensure that families and pets can stay together. And with that brief introduction, I'll turn it over to Susan, who can tell you more about the bill, and then we'll both be available to answer any questions.
Good morning. I'm Senator Pizzina and members of the committee. I'm Susan Riggs, Senior Director of Housing Policy for the ASPCA. And for those of you who have been in the legislature for some time, this bill may look very familiar, both components of it. The first part is in regards to property liability insurance. In 2021, the legislature passed a bill that prohibited utilization of dog breed in the underwriting of property liability insurance for homeowners and renters insurance. And so that still allowed them complete latitude to consider other factors related to potential aggression and preventing dog bites. The bill before you today would expand the scope of those provisions to landlord policies as well, so commercial multifamily. And so when a landlord has a policy for property liability insurance on their multifamily property, it would also prohibit that. And what that would do is ensure when landlords are willing to accept all dog breeds on their property, it would ensure that they're not operating in a gray area. And the reality is the vast majority of dog-related incidents on properties are trip and falls. Has nothing to do with dog breed at all. But a landlord who accepts one of these maligned breeds may feel like they're operating in kind of a gray area, not knowing that if there is a trip and fall that, for example, involves a Rottweiler, that has nothing to do with the dog breed, that their property insurance may not cover that trip and fall, even though it has nothing to do with dog aggression. So that would be the expansion around insurance. The second piece has to do with supportive housing. In 2021, this body passed a bill that required all state-financed affordable housing through the Affordable Housing Fund to accept pets. This would expand it to a secondary fund, the Nevada Supportive Housing Development Fund. And the importance of this fund is that most of the individuals living in supportive housing, or many of the individuals, I should say, have experienced homelessness, chronic homelessness, may have some underlying conditions such as substance abuse or disabilities, where they probably need a support animal or an assistance animal, and so they already have a need for this, and this would just ensure that would be allowable, permissible in the supportive housing that's been constructed utilizing state funds. The importance of this is that we know that for folks that have experienced homelessness, that oftentimes they'll refuse housing, refuse shelter if they are not able to bring their pet with them. Typically in the affordable housing world, it's the 3 Ps: property, possessions, partners, possessions, and pets. And if the shelter cannot accommodate those 3 things, they may refuse housing altogether. And of course, that's not an outcome that you want or anyone wants. So that's the 2 components of the bill, and I am available for questions. Thank you.
If I could just add one more quick thing, we do have a conceptual amendment that's been posted to Nellis. It is almost as brief as the bill itself, and it just clarifies that this is supposed to be done in conjunction and in compliance with applicable federal and state laws. We're not trying to supersede any other kind of established policies, and I think that it will ensure that the good actors in Nevada are able to continue providing that supportive housing that they already do.
Thank you so much. And again, if you haven't had a chance, please make sure you review that amendment on Nellis. Do we have any questions from the committee? Senator Ellison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a pet owner too, so I love my pets. They got more run of the house than I do, and the yards. But I used to manage a lot of properties. And one of the owners of the property had a strict rule: no dogs over 20 or 40 pounds. And the guy's ex-wife showed up, went to the gate, went into the yard, and the dog bit her on the face. They didn't sue the owner, they sued the property owner and won. It was massive. And they had a thing that says nothing under 25 pounds. So he had no rights whatsoever, and it cost him a lot of money. And then recently, we just had a tenant that moved into an apartment complex, and he moved 2 or 3 dogs in there, and they said, "You signed a lease, says no pets." And he was on the 3rd floor, excuse me, and what happened was he went and filed a grief saying that they were his service animals. Well, when they went in to inspect the apartments, the doors were scratched, the carpets were tore up, there was poop everywhere. So they give him eviction, and this social worker showed up, said you can't do that. So what we did is our attorney, or their attorney, filed a suit against the social worker saying they violated the contract, they violated the law, so therefore we're not going to hold him responsible for damage. We're going to hold you responsible for damage because you're forcing this. And they moved all but 1 dog out. So there's problems out there, and I know there is. Do I think people should have a service animal? Yes, I do. But it's got to the point where it's doing damages to properties. So can you answer that, please?
Yeah, so nothing in this bill would change landlord rights. In fact, it would give them more coverage when, if, and again, I mean, this is not intended to force landlords to take any specific type of pet. If they have a no pet policy, a cap on how many pets can be there, the type of pet, the size of pet, it changes none of that. The only thing that this bill would do on the insurance side is to provide more protection, and this would actually apply to the supportive housing as well. That's in the second part of the bill. For supportive housing, the reality is that it also doesn't change fair housing laws, and many of those tenants, as I mentioned, probably already have reasonable accommodations for either an assistance animal or a support animal, an emotional support animal. And in those cases, it's protected by the Federal Fair Housing Act and state laws pertaining to fair housing as well. And so nothing in this bill would change those things. It just ensures that, for those tenants in supportive housing that may not have gotten a reasonable accommodation permission yet, that they could bring in at least, one pet. But it would also, through the insurance, ensure that that landlord wouldn't be subject to liability if there was an incident on the property.
I think that's one of the most important things, is keep them from being sued from somebody. So thank you very much.
Do we have any further questions? Senator Steinbeck?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. My question would just be on the insurance side. Do you anticipate that this would lower the pool of insurance that would be available?
Well, so the state, the insurance pool is already implementing the renter's insurance and the homeowner's insurance policy provisions, and so this would just be an expansion of that to the commercial multifamily. The underwriting standards are generally the same across the board. So my sense is, in getting feedback from the insurance companies, is this would be a very small change, and they're probably in many cases already implementing it for commercial multifamily because they use the underwriting standards across policies. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I don't see any further questions. So with that, we thank you so much for the presentation this morning, and we are going to open up for testimony in support of Senate Bill 166. Please approach here in our physical locations, and then after that, we will move to the phones.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, I'm Mindy Elliott with Flynn Judici Government Affairs. That's MENDYELLIOTT. Today, representing Nevada Rural Housing Authority. And first of all, I want to thank Senator Scheibel for working with us as we provided some concerns, Senator Ellison, as it relates to some of the laws that the Housing Authority operates under with HUD, USDA, depending on who provided the financing. She was excellent. That the amendment is that she crafted certainly satisfies all of our concerns. We are the Nevada Rural Housing, just so everyone knows, they have a down payment assistance program through their clients. They work with all of their clients. They move them from apartments, multifamily into housing. When a family graduates to a house, they actually give a voucher to the Humane Society for a pet. So pets are important not only in the multifamily, but they're important to families. And it's actually known that if somebody has a pet, the family stays together. So on behalf of Rosie, we appreciate this bill and my dog, and we thank the senator for the bill today. And thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, Chair Pacina and members of the committee. My name is Rebecca Goff. For the record, REBECCA, G as in girl, O, F as in Frank, F as in Frank, and I'm the Nevada State Director for Humane World for Animals, formerly known as the Humane Society of the United States. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of Senate Bill 166. Research and shelter data show that housing-related challenges are one of the most common reasons pets are surrendered to animal shelters. This issue is widespread and well-known, largely due to the difficulties many families face in securing rental housing that allows pets. The problem is particularly acute for low-income families, as the cost of renting pet-friendly housing is often higher, making it more burdensome for marginalized groups. Additionally, a 2024 survey revealed that pet ownership is less attainable for lower-income households. Families earning under $50,000 a year are significantly more likely to encounter at least one restriction on pets in their housing, further limiting their ability to keep or adopt pets. In essence, the issue of finding affordable, pet-friendly housing disproportionately affects those struggling financially, leading to a higher rate of pet relinquishment among lower-income families. Animal shelters are feeling the repercussions of restrictive or no pet policies. They're experiencing high intakes. Oh, sorry. Lost my spot here. Okay, they're experiencing high intakes and increased length of stay, predominantly for medium and large-sized dogs. A no-win scenario for these housing policies not only cause unnecessary surrenders, but also severely limit the potential of an adopter pool for those same dogs. As we work on tackling Nevada's affordable housing shortage, it's crucial to explore innovative solutions that ensure both people and their pets have stable housing. SB 166 strengthens and builds upon previous legislative efforts to guarantee the joys and benefits of the human-animal bond by increasing access to affordable pet-friendly housing and improving access to liability insurance. It also reinforces the legislature's prior decision requiring insurers to base underwriting decisions on an animal's individual behavior rather than assumptions about a dog's breed. Collectively, these changes will improve access to rental housing and keep people and their pets together. We thank Senator Scheibel for her leadership on this important matter and ask the committee for a favorable vote on SB 166. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Goff and Ms. Elliott, and we're enjoying all the positive testimony. With that, let's move to the phone lines broadcast. Do we have anyone in support of SB 166?
If you would like to testify in support of SB 166, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in support of SB 166, please press star 9 now.
Hi, my name is Tammy Jennings, TammyJennings. I'm the Assistant Director for Washoe County Regional Animal Services, and would just like to call in support of SB 166. We are constantly seeing a shortage of pet-friendly, affordable housing, and pets are a very important part of our families. Housing availability is one of the main reasons we hear for animals being surrendered or abandoned, and we feel like this would help decrease the number of pets that we see being surrendered and abandoned in our region. So we would like to show our support for this. Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Jill, Jill. Last name is Dobbs, D as in dog, O, B as in boy, B as in boy, S as in Sam. And I am the Executive Director of the SPCA of Northern Nevada. Rebecca and Tammy just laid out a lot of the points that I was going to make. So I want to focus on the additional revenue that's going to be required from taxpayers to keep covering the overwhelming number of surrendered pets, particularly medium-sized and large dogs, that are coming into the state's municipal shelters. These individual municipalities who are already under-resourced are going to continue to have to utilize tax money to buy more staffing, build more kennels. And one of the best ways to prevent all of these animals coming in to these municipal shelters is to open up more pet-friendly, affordable housing. Additionally, all the private nonprofits and shelters such as my own are also very overwhelmed. And I want to make an emotional point. It is heartbreaking to have to watch families come in day after day who truly love their pets, and they have no other option but to surrender them because they have to move their family into new housing for whatever reason. Maybe they lost a job, or the cost of living is so astronomical for the majority at this point. They have no choice. And to watch these parents who are already in such a difficult place have to surrender their kid's best friend is horrifying. So thank you so much for considering passing this bill.
Chair, you have no more callers wishing to participate at this time.
Thank you so much. Seeing no one in Carson City or Las Vegas coming to the tables, we will move to testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 166, starting here in Carson City and in our physical locations. Seeing no one coming forward, broadcast, do we have anyone on the phone who would like to testify in opposition of Senate Bill 166?
Chair, you have no callers at this time.
All right, that moves us right into neutral. Do we have anyone who'd like to testify in neutral for Senate Bill 166 here in Carson City, Las Vegas, and back to the phones broadcast.
Chair, your public line is open and working, but you have no callers at this time.
All right. Would you like to make any closing statements? Well, we will give you a round of applause for Senate Bill 166, and we will move into Senate Bill 167.
Hello again. I'm still Melanie Scheibel. I still represent Senate District 9 in Southwest Las Vegas, and I'm pleased to be in front of the Senate Commerce and Labor Committee this morning, also presenting SB 167. I have brought with me a friend and colleague, Monica Engebretson, who knows much more about this topic than I do and can walk you through the bill. But first, I just wanted to give it a brief introduction and explain the purpose of SB 167. SB 167 is what we might consider a mandated alternative bill. The purpose here is to encourage companies that sell their products in Nevada, specifically household cleaning products, to utilize non-animal testing in order to ensure the safety and suitability of those products. Over the course of the last 50 to 100 years, we have seen a dramatic decrease in the use of animals in testing due to the unreliability of those results and, of course, the cruelty to animals. Now that we have better technology and better alternatives, as some people say, when we know better, we do better. And so the purpose of SB 167 is to ensure that Nevadans, when they go to their local grocery store or big box store or retailer to pick up that cleanser that they're going to use on their kitchen sink or in their bathrooms or on the mirrors to keep the glass shiny and clean, that they know that product has not caused animal suffering that was unnecessary or been the purpose or been the source of additional animal testing. We understand that we can't ring the bell. Many products that are on the market today got to market because some of the ingredients, because part of the formula was already tested on animals. We're not asking to pull those items from the shelves. We're asking that moving forward, as companies seek to introduce additional ingredients, additional formulations to the market, that those are not tested on animals when there are available alternatives. I think we do still have the Household Products Association coming up in opposition this morning, but we have already had a conversation with them, and I am very confident that we'll be able to craft an amendment before a work session that will remove their opposition to clarify what I just explained, that we're not trying to take products off the shelves that are already there. This is a forward-looking bill to say that as companies continue to innovate and continue to develop new products, where there are alternatives, they will utilize those alternatives, which thankfully we have found is really the policy of most companies in the state of Nevada and really throughout the United States. Most companies are moving away from animal testing, and we hope that Nevada can be a leader in this area to make a statement to make a policy statement that we support alternatives to animal testing instead of relying on those unreliable and cruel tests to animals. And with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Engebretson to walk you through the bill, and then we'll both be able to answer questions.
Good morning, Committee, Senator Pazia and Committee. I'm Monica Engebretson. I'm the Head of Public Affairs for North America for Cruelty Free International. We're an organization that works to promote non-animal testing methods around the world. So we work with companies and regulators and legislators all over the place to make sure that when a new animal testing method is available, that they actually get used. Senator Scheibel did a great job of introducing the bill. We really just want to make sure that when non-animal tests are available, they are actually utilized, and so that animals are not needlessly being harmed. The bill will ensure, so historically, as she pointed out, that animals have been used in painful tests to assure the safety, but 70 years ago, we didn't have new alternatives, and the alternatives that have been developed now actually tend to be more accurate to human reactions than the animal tests they replace. And they have to go through rigorous regulations and validation studies to make sure that they're as good or better than the animal test. And Many regulatory agencies now are actually under mandate to start encouraging the replacement of the use of animals tests. However, they don't require that the non-animal tests be used in place of animal tests. They put out a guideline, they put out lists sometimes of the tests that are accepted, but they don't actually require those tests to be used. They seem to be waiting for manufacturers or those that they regulate to be proactive and bring them the new animal testing data. So it's kind of counterintuitive to most people. You would think that once a non-animal method is available, it would be used, but unfortunately, the animal tests often persists long after the available alternative. And Cruelty Free International has developed a list of tests that are constantly used, even though they have long-standing replacement methods and have been accepted by many regulators around the world. The reasons that animal tests persist are often not scientific. There can be confusion, legitimate confusion or concern about whether a regulatory agency will accept the non-animal testing data. It can also just be more comfortable to do what has always been done, or they might view the animal test as the fastest and quickest and surest way to approval for their product. However, these are not unsurmountable obstacles, and they don't validate a continued use of inflicting painful tests on animals. There's a way around this, and this bill will help encourage that to take place, to encourage like an incentive to look to the alternative test whenever possible. It's very similar, if this sounds similar, to the cosmetics law that Nevada passed or that went into effect in 2020. It's actually a lower bar because in this bill, we're effectively saying if a regulator requires the test can be done. Whereas the cosmetics bill had a few more hurdles because it was talking about cosmetics. But cosmetics companies, just like household product manufacturing companies, they do have long supply chains and suppliers that provide their ingredients that they need to check with to make sure that the product is safe, and should be asking about what kind of safety data was used in order to produce that product that they're putting out there. We do work with companies in our organization, cosmetics as well as household products, and we know they have to talk to their supply chains about what tests were used and signal that they want the non-animal tests to be used whenever possible. So we know it can be done and that it is complicated, but it's not impossible to do. This bill also recognizes that it takes time to adjust, so it has an effective date of 2030. It gives a 5-year runway to adjust to this, and as Senator pointed out, it won't mean that products are getting pulled off the shelves. Animal testing that happened in the past, you can't unring the bell. Those products stay on the shelf, and similar to what happened with the cosmetics bill, cosmetics didn't come off the shelf. There's been no interruption in the number of products that consumers have available to them, and retailers aren't responsible for complying with the law. The onus is on the manufacturer of the product, so retailers are not impacted. And we've not seen any problem with the cosmetics law that have gone into effect, and after Nevada passed that law, 12 other states have followed Nevada's model, and the amendments that were put into the cosmetics bill that brought the largest Cosmetics Manufacturers Association, the PCPC, on board with the bill have now been adopted into the Federal Humane Cosmetics Act, which was reintroduced last week with bipartisan support. So it really has set a model, and with this bill being the first of its kind, Nevada can set an example again for the nation. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, do we have any questions from the committee? Senator Daley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And it's a curiosity question, sorry. I understand that the 5-year runway saw all of that, all of the other latitudes and various things to have this not be disruptive, but also reach your goal. Cephalopod, what do they test with cephalopods? I understand the vertebrate one, but I was going...
Yeah, so...
Primarily octopus, I guess.
Right. We've started to include in our definition of animal that we use on this issue all around cephalopods because they are included in EU and UK legislation. They're an intelligent, highly sensitive species, and they don't technically have a vertebrae. So the classic definition of animal has been a vertebrate animal, and it's been recognized that, there's other animals that have high sentience, high intelligence that should be included. They are not used, to my knowledge, in household product cleaning products, but we've just started to include that in the definition to be consistent.
Understood, consistency, and I was just thinking to myself, curiosity question was all. Thank you very much.
Senator Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand that the idea is that it's not retroactive. Completely understand that. I'm just curious, is there continuous testing that occurs? In other words, product A has gone through testing, it's now been approved, it's on the shelf. Will product A ever have to go back to any type of testing scenarios? And in that situation, if it does have to go back to testing scenarios, if it originally was allowed to test on an animal, would it be allowed for for a follow-up test or whatever that may look like?
It is possible. Usually it's when a new ingredient. Say your name. Oh, sorry. Monica Ingebrigtsen for Cruelty-Free International. Usually it is the newer ingredients that are being tested, but existing ingredients, occasionally there's a concern that's raised that wasn't raised before, and they might say, hey, actually, we want more data on this ingredient. In this bill, it says if a regulator, so if an existing ingredient needed to be retested, the intent, and what I think we've captured in the bill is that if the regulator asked for an animal test, even for an ingredient that is on the shelf already, it could be done if the test was required by a regulator. Yeah.
Madam Chair, and just for the sake of clarity, and I understand that it says if it's being required to be tested in an animal, then it is what it is. But what I meant to say is, if it was originally tested on an animal, and then it's not no longer that's not the requirement, but it's the same product. I'm just trying to think of that hypothetical where we originally allowed it on the shelf, it was tested on an animal. Now we're going to have to retest that same product, but it's not being required that they test an animal. They have to try to find an alternative, and if they don't, in that point, we could potentially see a scenario where that product would be pulled and stripped from the shelves if they did it again on an animal.
Yeah, I guess if it wasn't, because if animal testing data already existed and they were asking for the product to be tested again, it would be because they weren't satisfied with that existing animal testing data. So at that point, the regulator could say, we want more data on whatever toxicity endpoint they were asking about. And if the company provided animal testing data for that endpoint when they could have used the non-animal method, then that would be in violation. So that would be a rare circumstance, but that would be possible. But it would have to be that the regulator asked for more data. And obviously, if the animal test existed and they're asking for more data, it's because that existing data isn't enough for what they are concerned about.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Ellison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, a lot of these products are being done in other countries. So we really don't know what they're doing. Isn't that correct? So how are you going to control that?
The bill says if the animal test was required by a foreign regulator, then it is not in violation. So a foreign regulator might require animal testing. It's similar to kind of what happened in the cosmetics bill. And the manufacturer supplier conducted those animal tests for that foreign regulatory agency. That data could be used because even if in the U.S. they accepted the non-animal, and because the test was conducted not for the purpose of the U.S. regulator, but that we can't say, oh, we're pretending in this bill, we're not pretending that that data doesn't exist and wasn't done. If it was done for some foreign regulator, you don't have to pretend that the data doesn't exist. You could apply it and use that same animal testing data once it exists for the U.S. regulatory body, even if they would have accepted the non-animal test. You understand what I'm saying? And we do know what foreign regulators require. That is something that's known, and the manufacturer supplier would say, we have this data because, for example, the Chinese government required an animal test, and that's where the data come from. That differs from what's in the cosmetics bill. That's one of the areas where it's a little stricter. It did exempt foreign testing, but it also had a few other positions in there, but this one is a little more permissible on that point.
Thank you.
All right, Senator Steinbeck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your presentation. You mentioned when there are alternatives. What's the definitive that there is an alternative that is acceptable? Is that the regulatory body accepting it? Is that the mark?
Monica Ingebrigtsen for Cruelty-Free International. Yes, whether the regulator accepts it. And we understand that sometimes it's confusing. Certain regulators like EPA, they will have a listing of non-animal tests, but sometimes they just provide a guideline for the types of data that they want, and that can be a little gray area. And so we understand that a manufacturer might have to ask for clarity about the method that they're planning to use. So that's possible that would be the case if they were, but we think that that's, the EPA says ask. They do understand that sometimes there might be some confusion about what method you're using, and you can ask the EPA whether they will accept the method that you're going to be presenting to them.
Okay, and so in that scenario, if they asked and then it was still the animal testing, they would still be allowed to come into the state?
Monica Engebretson for Cruelty Free International. Yes, that is the intent. That yes, if the regulator said, sorry, we usually accept non-animal testing, but right now we're concerned, for some reason maybe they decided that they didn't feel that there was enough data, or they just were uncomfortable with it and they asked for animal testing data, then it would be allowed.
Thank you very much.
All right, seeing no further questions, we will have you take a step back. Thank you so much. And we are going to open up Senate Bill 167 for testimony in support, or positive testimony.
All right, let's try this again. I'm a little more awake this time. Good morning, Chair Pazina. My name is Rebecca Goff, and I'm the Nevada State Director for Humane World for Animals, formerly known as the Humane Society of the United States. I appreciate the opportunity to testify on behalf of our Nevada members and supporters, urging the committee to pass SB 167. The legislation prohibits the importation and sale of household cleaning products for which animal testing was performed on the final product or any ingredient in the product after January 1st, 2030. It will not impact anything currently on the store shelves. SB 167 contains limited exemptions that allow for animal testing under certain conditions, including testing done to satisfy regulatory requirements and to address specific and serious human health concerns. Animal testing is cruel and not a reliable predictor of human responses. In traditional animal tests, rabbits, guinea pigs, mice, and rats have substances forced down their throats, dripped into their eyes, or smeared onto their skin before they are killed. These test methods are unreliable predictors of human safety. Different species can respond differently when exposed to the same chemicals. Consequently, animals tests may underestimate or overestimate real-world hazards to people. In addition, results from animal tests can be quite variable and difficult to interpret. Animal testing for household cleaning products is completely unnecessary. Companies can create household cleaning products using thousands of available ingredients that have a history of safe use and do not require new testing. For new ingredients where animal testing may currently be used, many non-animal methods have been and continue to be developed. Non-animal methods can combine human cell-based tests and sophisticated computer models to deliver human-relevant results at less cost and in less time than traditional animal tests. Additionally, both the Consumer Product Safety Commission and the Environmental Protection Agency, which regulate household cleaning products, and their component ingredients have policies encouraging the use of non-animal testing when available. There are over 160 companies that have already made the commitment to produce high-quality household cleaners without the use of animal testing or in their products or their ingredients, including Seventh Generation, Method, Mrs. Mayer's Clean Dry, and Whole Foods Market. Nevada became one of the first states in the country to prohibit the sale of cosmetics that have been newly tested on animals in 2019.
Ms. Scott, for a bit over 2 minutes. So if you want to finish up and then provide your comments to the secretary so we can make sure they're all on the record.
Yes. Now is the time to continue Nevada's leadership. Humane World for Animals strongly supports SB 167 and urges the committee to pass this legislation. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Pazina and members of the committee. Susan Riggs on behalf of the ASPCA. And in the interest of time, I will concur with all of the remarks that have previously been made and express our support for SB 167. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Karen Daylow, CaronTayloe. I'm a Washoe County resident since childhood, which has been a long time. I want to thank Senator Pazina and the committee for consideration of this bill. I also want to thank Senator Scheibel and my own Senator Krasner for co-sponsoring the bill. Your diligence and courage are something I admire for bringing this bill forward. I've been waiting for this bill for 60 years, and in my own research, it is clear that non-animal testing is much more accurate these days with all the computer models that we have, with AI, with tissue sampling, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that the alternatives are definitely preferable over what we do to animals in labs in this country and other countries. And I appreciate that there's an international approach now to tackle animal testing. Most of my family and friends are interested in using products that have not been tested on animals. So we all welcome this, and once again, thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you so much. Not seeing anyone else here in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll move to the phones. Broadcast, do we have anyone who'd like to testify in support of Senate Bill 167?
Chair, your public line is open and working, but you have no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. All right, we will move to testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 167 here in Carson City, and I don't see anyone in Las Vegas.
Thank you, Chair Pizzina and members of the committee. I'm Christopher Fenarelli, Christopher, F as in Frank, Inarelli. I'm here on behalf of the Household and Commercial Products Association. We're the premier association representing products that help communities maintain and clean homes and businesses, including cleaning products and disinfectants. Regretfully, we are here in opposition of SB 167 as currently drafted. As a solutions-oriented association, we are committed to engaging collaboratively with Senator Scheibel, and we are working very hard to craft workable language to address the concerns raised by Senate Bill 167. We sincerely appreciate the Senator's openness to discussing potential amendments, and we remain dedicated to finding a path forward that advances our shared goal of reducing and transitioning away from animal testing. I want to be clear up front, we do not oppose the broader objective of moving away from animal testing. Our industry continues to align with initiatives such as the EPA's new approach methodologies to phase out animal testing whenever feasible. Our concern is that the issue of animal testing is a function of several complex federal laws, guidelines, and rules. And no matter what this bill ultimately allows or prohibits, our industry is still subject to those federal rules and guidelines. If you want to register a product and demonstrate its safety to the EPA, you need to navigate federal requirements. SB 167 recognizes this fact in some ways, but as a bill modeled on existing law regulating cosmetics, it does not fully account for the unique federal framework governing cleaning products. It should be known that the EPA has the ultimate goal of eliminating animal testing. Currently, under federal law, the EPA is mandated to prioritize non-animal testing methods for chemical safety assessments, with the ultimate goal of eliminating vertebrate testing. So they are moving in the direction of this bill, and our industry will continue to align with that effort. But I want to caution the committee that if this bill moves as drafted, Nevada residents and businesses will lose access to critical cleaning and disinfecting products that are approved by the EPA for the sale in the state. And
We're actually well over 2 minutes at this point. I gave you a little more latitude, but if you do want to complete your comments, and make sure to turn them into our secretary so that we can have everything on the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We stand ready to work with the committee and the bill's sponsor to develop practical solutions. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, and we do hope that you work with the bill sponsor so that you can come up with language to move something forward that everyone's happy with. Okay? Thank you so much. All right, not seeing anyone else in Carson City or Las Vegas. Broadcast, is there anyone on the phones who would like to testify in opposition of Senate Bill 167?
Chair, your public line is open and working, but you have no callers at this time.
All right, time for neutral. If there's anyone in Carson City or Las Vegas who'd like to testify in neutral, please approach. Not seeing a rush of people coming to either desk, not seeing anyone in Las Vegas at all. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the phones?
Chair, you have no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. I guess it was a rough day in Las Vegas and no one could make it there today. And I promise I will be done with the puns. All right, with that, would the presenters like to come up and make any closing comments?
Monica Ingebrigtsen for Cruelty Free International. I just want to once again thank the committee for considering this issue, and we have heard the opposition and we look forward to continuing to work with them. We knew we worked with the Personal Care Products Council, and we are on side with them now on the cosmetics issue, and I believe we can get there with the Household Products Manufacturers Association as well.
Agreed.
Thank you both so much. And with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 167, and we will move to another item on our agenda, which is a bill draft request introduction. Committee members, as you know, throughout the session, especially with the bill referral deadline coming up, we and other committees are asked to introduce committee bill draft requests, or BDRs, to begin the bill process, assign a bill number, and get it referred to our committee. Your vote to introduce a committee bill draft request is not an indication of any support. It's just to get the process started. Today, we have BDR number 18-510, revising provisions relating to the Office of Minority Health and Equity of the Department of Health and Human Services. With that, do I have a motion to introduce BDR 18-510?
Motion to introduce.
Second, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. We have the motion introduced by Vice Chair Daley, a second from Senator Flores. Is there any discussion on the motion before we vote? Okay. Wonderful. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. We will introduce BDR 18-510, and that moves us into public comment. Members of the public may provide public comment in person, by phone, or submit written public comment to the committee's email address. Instructions for providing public comment may be found on the agenda, including the call-in information. We look forward to hearing from you, and we ask that you keep your comments brief and please avoid repetition or comments made by previous speakers. Finally, clearly state and spell your name for the record. We'll begin with public comment from those at our physical locations and move to anyone who's called in. Do we have anyone who'd like to make public comment in Carson City? No one in Vegas, it seems. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the phones?
Chair, your public line is open and working, but you have no callers at this time.
All right, thank you so much. We will close out public comments. Are there any comments from our members before we adjourn? All right, I will remind our members it is Team Photo Day, so stay in place, don't go anywhere. But this does conclude our meeting for today, and we look forward to seeing everyone back here on Monday. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.